Hey everybody, this is D Hunter, bringing another action figure review. Today, we're going to look at the Mafex Batman The Dark Knight Returns Superman action figure. I got this figure from AmiAmi.com. If you're getting your Mafex figures from an American store like Big Bad Toy Store, you should switch one of the Japanese stores. This guy cost me less than $70 with shipping included, and that is no joke. I even paid for the expensive shipping DHL, and it arrived about 4 days later after it shipped. I really love the comic figures that Mafex has been making. Batman Hush, Nightfall, and Dark Knight Returns. They are some of their top-notch products. This Superman should be big and bulky, just like the graphic novel. So let's take a look at the packaging. As you can see at the top, DC, Batman The Dark Knight Returns, Superman by Mafex and Medicom Toys. Here he is holding the Kryptonite arrow, and here he is in the package. Bunch of extra hands, a couple heads, and I do see that Kryptonite arrow on the side. One side of the package, Batman Dark Knight Returns, Superman. Other side, Mafex. This is the 161st figure in the Mafex line. At the bottom, got a bunch of credits, and there is a barcode, in case that helps anybody. And at the back side, here's Superman posed up. Bunch of different various poses. You can see his accessories. So with no further ado, let's open him up. And of course, I did get two of these figures, one of which to open and enjoy, and one to keep unopened in my complete Batman-related unopened action figure collection. Here's the entire collection of Mafex Batman The Dark Knight Returns action figures. I'm actually not aware of any other upcoming ones. This might be it. Alright, now that we got this figure out of the package, here he is with all his accessories laid out. He comes with a flight stand, 8 alternate hands, totaling 10 interchangeable hands, 2 different heads, and the infamous Kryptonite arrow. But before we take a look at those, let's talk about and check out the actual figure. So this is Superman from Batman The Dark Knight Returns. It's essentially a what-if story in the future of the Batman world. Batman's older, retired, superheroes were forced to go away. Superman here is sort of a villain. He's become a puppet for the government and does their bidding, whether it's good or bad. He's one of the few remaining superheroes. They make it a point to say how he cut off Oliver Queen's arm when Green Arrow would not stop. Batman would not stop either, but eventually he did. This Superman is big, beefy, bulky, just like from the book. So let's check him out. Let's start with his head here. He's got the signature curl, super exaggerated, just like in the book. The hair captures the book. The face, maybe not quite as much as I'd like. It just doesn't really look ugly enough. That might sound weird, but the art was very specific from The Dark Knight Returns. The blue is absolutely fantastic. The red, the yellow, it's all iconic, classic Superman. Big, huge chest and biceps. Very exaggerated proportions. He's got his fists on, double jointed knees, double jointed elbows. The cape looks fantastic. First of all, we've got the Superman logo. And you can see how it's folded right now. I really don't even want to interrupt that or disturb that. It looks so good. Classic red boots. Classic large Superman. Not exactly your traditional Superman. They pitted Batman against him for one of the first times, and Batman essentially beat him. And just a closer look at his face and head sculpt. It's pretty good. The hair really captures the book. Just the face, I don't know, something's just a little off about it. Works more as a generic Superman, which is probably good for a lot of people out there. I also wanted to point out at the top of the cape, it's got some issues there. You can see some string sort of sticking up. Definitely annoying for the price of this guy. One little comment about his torso. It is really easy to have this thing twisted and just sort of looking all weird, and bottom part twisted one way, top part twisted another way. Not a big deal, but sometimes it can be a pain in the ass to just get it straight and looking good. This is exactly what I mean by his torso. It's just really easy to look awkward. Requires quite a bit of work to keep it straight. Every time you kind of move him around, it wants to do something like this. And then, here he is broken down as far as he can go, with all of his removable parts detached. Now let's look at his accessories, and let's start off with the flight stand. Here's his display stand. There are 6 different pieces, 3 of which you need to make this work. When fully assembled, it'll look like this. We have the large transparent base, 3 holes that you can put the post into. Then of course we have the post there, rotation at the bottom, hinged at the bottom, hinged in the middle, hinged at the top, rotation at the top, and there's this clamp to hold your figure. It has 2 clamps, one larger one. This is a pretty large figure, so that one made more sense to me. It also has these extra pieces, an additional post, a smaller clamp, and this extra piece here that will help support your figure. Now let's look at his hands. He has a total of 10 of them, 5 pair. Here he is with his first pair of hands. These are his fists. Then his second pair of hands. These are also some fists, but they have little holes in them to be able to hold the kryptonite arrow. Here are his next hands. These are some large open hands. They'd probably be for some good grabbing or throwing hands. And his next pair of hands. These are some relaxed hands. They would look good at his sides. They could probably also hold something kind of large. And here's his final pair of hands. These could be some karate chopping hands, but we all know these are some flight hands. Every single Superman figure should come with a pair of flight hands and a pair of fisted hands. I do like gripping hands as default hands. Take these hands, push them forward. You can get Superman into a pretty good flight pose here between his torso articulation, neck articulation. Looks pretty damn good. Now let's check out his heads. He has 2 of them. One is a head, no damage, normal expression. Another one is an angry head, and his face is partially burned by acid Batman threw at him. Here he is with his first regular looking head. Then, with his second head, he's angry, and his face on the left is burnt by acid. Just a little bit of a closer look at that damaged face. Now let's look at the kryptonite arrow. Paint job leaves a little bit to be desired. The feathers are slightly darker brown. The whole thing has sort of a khaki color to it, and it's got this green tip. It does come apart. Here it is, next to the DC Direct version of the same kryptonite arrow. Paint job is completely different, but they're both based off the exact same source material. Here's Superman holding that kryptonite arrow, thinking he stopped it from hitting him, which he did, but it still got the job done. Now they've taken a pretty good look at both the figure and his accessories. Now let's check out his height. From bottom to the top of his head, standing at about 6.5 inches tall, which you can translate to about 16.5 centimeters. Now let's check out his articulation. Start with his head here. Of course, you can rotate from side to side. You can look up about that far, down about that far. Very impressive range going up and down. Can't tilt his head from one side to the other. He does have articulation at the base of the neck and the top of the neck. Shoulders on a ball joint, goes up way more than 90 degrees. He's got a butterfly joint here, which really adds a wider range of articulation. Up, down, around, all that good stuff. They kind of drop down. You can push them back up. A lot of options there. Forward and back. The butterfly joint is very effective. Bicep cut below that. Double jointed elbows. His wrists rotate and hinged as well. Ball joint his torso, rotate around, forward and back. Another ball joint his waist, rotate around, forward and back. You get a lot more out of here than down here. Legs almost complete as splits. Ball joints. Rotation, it's decent. They do have sort of drop down hips. You pull them down, push them back up. Double jointed knees, they go back that far. His ankles here, forward and back. Rotation, tilt, rock, and toe articulation. It starts off with Batman taunting Superman, trying to lure him out with a bat signal. Superman is gliding down as he prepares to confront Batman. Put a stop to him. Batman gets right in his face, challenging him in every way possible. Batman kicks things off by hitting Superman with his sonic gun. Batman is determined to take down Superman. He throws everything he's got at him. In comes the Bat Tank driving down the streets of Gotham. Superman throws around the Bat Tank as if it was completely weightless. He rips off the cockpit, exposing Robin, and he simply asks her, "Isn't this a school night, young lady?" Now Batman reaches back and takes energy from a nearby light pole. He needs some extra power to hurt Superman. Here's the energy running through the city, through Batman's armored suit, onto Superman. At this point, Batman seems to have the upper hand. Here he is, stomping in Superman's face with his cleated boots. And now, Superman has had enough. No more Mr. Nice Guy. He gets up and rips off Batman's armored mask. Now, Batman sprays acid from his gauntlet, sprays it all over Superman's face, hurting and pissing off Superman. Batman now throws a grenade towards Superman. He knows it's really not going to do much. It's only really meant as a distraction. It was only meant to serve as a distraction, while a one-armed Oliver Queen gets to fire his kryptonite arrow towards Superman. Oliver Queen points his bow, uses teeth to pull the strings back, and fires that kryptonite arrow that Batman provided for him, finally getting the revenge he's been trying to get on Superman all these years. And of course, Superman, having super reflexes and super hearing, is able to catch the arrow before it hits him. He thinks he's preventing things, but it's exactly what they expected. Kryptonite dust bursts out of the arrow, affecting Superman. And as Batman has the upper hand and is beating Superman senseless, he says to him, "I wanted to remind you to stay out of my way. In all the years to come, in all your most private moments, I want you to remember the one man who beat you." As Batman has essentially won the fight, he then has a heart attack, collapses onto the ground. Superman seems surprised, unsure, and sort of guilty. Now let's check him out, next to some other action figures, starting off with some other Mafex Dark Knight Returns figures. Here's the Dark Knight Returns Superman, next to the first version of the Dark Knight Returns Batman. Then, next to the armored Batman, a little more of a match for Superman than the regular Batman. And here's Superman, next to the Batman and Robin Dark Knight Returns 2-pack. Here's Superman, next to the Dark Knight Returns Joker. At least they made Superman bigger than Joker. Here's the entire Mafex Dark Knight Returns collection. Like I said before, I don't believe there are any other figures announced in the Dark Knight Returns collection. I would personally love anything they would throw at us. I think the Mutant Leader is the most logical next figure they would make. A one-armed Oliver Queen would be nice, as no company's ever done one of those. But I would take a mutant gang member, Son of Batman, Two-Face, Gordon, anything they would throw at us. And here's the rest of my Dark Knight Returns collection. We've got a whole bunch of different Batman and Robin figures. Here's the newest one in the middle. Above that, we've got the Mutant Leader and the Mutant Gang. And above that, the Sons of Batman. Here's the Mafex Dark Knight Returns Superman, next to the Mafex Hush Superman. These Mafex comic-inspired figures are just fantastic. And here he is, next to the Mafex Batman vs. Superman figure. Mafex figures have come a long way since then. Now let's check him out, next to some other Dark Knight Returns Superman figures. Here he is, next to the McFarlane DC Multiverse Batman the Dark Knight Returns Superman. Then, next to a couple of different paint variations of the DC Direct Dark Knight Returns Superman. And here he is, next to a couple of Mattel DC Multiverse Dark Knight Returns Superman figures. Now let's check him out, next to some action figures from different various companies, to see how he fits in both scale and style-wise, in case you want to know which lines you can mix him with. Since he's a Mafex figure, they're typically the 6-inch scale. I'm going to start off my comparisons with some of the smaller action figure lines I collect, and work my way larger. Here he is, next to some Jazzwares Fortnite figures, and I'm going to include as many Superman figures as I can during these comparisons. And here he is, next to some SH Figure Arts action figures, then with some Hasbro Marvel Legends. And here he is, with some Mafex figures, then with some Mattel DC Universe Classics and Multiverse Superman figures. And here he is, next to some Mezco 112 collective figures, and now next to some Jazzwares AEW wrestlers, then with some Mattel wrestling figures. And here he is, standing next to some NECA figures, then with some DC Direct and DC Collectibles Superman figures, and now here he is with some McFarlane DC Multiverse Superman figures. And here he is, next to some DST or Diamond Select toys, and finally, next to some Jakks Pacific wrestling figures. Overall, it's a very nice Superman figure. Not exactly my ideal version of Superman, as I prefer the good Boy Scout hero Superman figure. This guy thinks he's doing the right thing, but it's become twisted. His accessories are pretty cool, although just hands, one extra head, and the arrow. I feel like he could have more. And I don't really have any good suggestions what else he should come with. His articulation is fantastic, better than your average Mafex figure. Sculpt and paint job are also excellent. I love the hair, the face. Like I said, just a little too pretty. Should be uglier. I do wish he came with an alternate head for when he got nuked in the Corto Maltese incident, at least if I'm remembering the book correctly. If I were to rate this guy, I'm going to give him a 7.5 out of 10. I'm definitely enjoying him, but a little bit too big and bulky for my version of Superman. But damn, the colors are fantastic, so is the cape. So this is D Hunter. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you liked the video, press like below. If you have anything you want to say with the video, add to the comment section. If you want to see additional action figure reviews from me, press subscribe. I do appreciate when you do that. Once again, this is D Hunter. Thank you guys for watching this video, and I will talk to you guys real soon.